According to studies in the US, almost 55% of all relationships end due to one or sometimes even both partners being unfaithful to each other, and in the world of entertainment media, such cases are always the center of attention. One such example is going to be the primary focus of today's video, the relationship between Gabrielle Union and Chris Howard, who've had their fair share of infidelity. Here's everything we know so far, starting off with a problematic union. Before starting a family with NBA superstar Dwayne Wade, Union had been married to another pro athlete, the former NFL running back Chris Howard, for 5 whole years before the two eventually decided to split up back in 2006. While on the Armchair Expert podcast with Dax Shepard, Union recently opened up about her marital life before getting together with Wade and revealed some pretty shocking details. Most notable of all was that their relationship was far from closed. After the topic of cheating got brought up, Union took a deep dive into her time with Howard, explaining that she'd been actively seeing other men despite being married. Later on, she also spoke about how she had felt entitled to cheat since she'd been paying all the bills around the house and working her ass off. Plus, it's also worth mentioning that Union had accused Howard of seeing other people as well. What's more, even Union admitted that her relationship with Howard was far from good. While looking back on the relationship, Union clearly regretted it. However, it seems that she's learned from her past mistakes and has a loving marriage and a happy family with the Miami Heat icon Wade. The two continue to make grand gestures to show just how much they care about each other. Later on in the podcast, Union also discussed the reason she'd been with the NFL running back in the first place, explaining that part of the reason stemmed from her wanting some validation of having high-profile people wanting to be with her. However, in hindsight, this was a major mistake, as all she got out of it was a 5-year relationship with someone she didn't belong to. Union also went on to say that she and Howard should have never done anything more than date. Thankfully, she doesn't have to worry about being in such a toxic relationship anymore. Although she and Wade have had their bumps in the road, the pair have managed to overcome them all so far. They've been married ever since 2014 and also welcomed their first child into the world back in 2018. All's well that ends well. However, Union and Howard aren't the only athletes to partake in the carnal act of infidelity. Divorce rates have shown that, unlike sports, success in a relationship usually comes down to a coin toss. Those are some good odds considering the fact that divorce rates among pro athletes have reached a whopping 80%. Celebrity athletes cheating on each other has become such a cliche that even the NBA legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote an essay about it, calling it a stereotype that's been rooted in cultural bias. However, whether you agree with his sentiments or not, we can all agree that infidelity is a surefire way to damage a marriage beyond repair. So without further ado, let's take a look at some of the sports icons who've cheated on their significant others. First up, we have Chad Johnson. Back in August 2012, a month after their nuptials, the NFL wide receiver and his wife, Evelyn Lozada, reportedly got into a terrible fight caused by a receipt for a box of condoms. The altercation reportedly ended up getting so heated that Johnson even went as far as to allegedly headbutt Lozada, leaving a 3-inch laceration on her head. After the spat, his wife reportedly fled to a neighbor's house in order to seek safety, and Johnson was soon arrested and charged with domestic violence, where he kept claiming that Lozada had hit him first. The two ended up getting a divorce just a month later. While suspected infidelity had been at the center of the dispute, Lozada had apparently turned a blind eye to the possibility during the time they'd been engaged. Next up, there's Carmelo Anthony. The New York Knicks star and his wife, Lala Anthony, were once considered #couples goals all over social media. Their union had been well documented through reality TV, certainly becoming quite a fixture on the NYC social scene. However, all that ended up coming to an abrupt end back in April 2017 after tabloids began to claim that the small forward had been unfaithful to his wife of 7 years, even impregnating an exotic dancer. The couple announced their separation soon after the rumors began to spread. Although neither side ever publicly discussed the alleged infidelity, America's community of losers, commonly referred to as paparazzi, has been hounding Lala and her son Kyan, forcing Lala to lie to her son so that they were just following them in order to get fashion shots for magazines. Following up is Tiger Woods. Back in 2009, the golfing legend's reputation ended up getting turned upside down after his wife of 5 years, model Ellen Nordegren, discovered that he'd been unfaithful because of scandalous texts on his phone. She allegedly chased Woods out of the house with a golf club, leading to him speeding off in his vehicle, but then crashing into a fire hydrant just outside their home. That fender bender was reportedly a catalyst bringing forth dozens of alleged mistresses from the athlete's past. He would later issue a statement apologizing for the sins he'd committed, which numbered around 120 affairs. Following the reveal, Woods also checked himself into a sex addiction clinic. Years later, after he'd been asked about what what he regretted from his past, Woods didn't even mention his cheating scandal. Moving on, there's Wayne Rooney. The Manchester United legend has had his share of scandals. Back in 2010, 2 years after marrying his childhood sweetheart, Colleen McLaughlin, Rooney became the subject of cheating allegations after Jennifer Thompson, a former escort, claimed that she'd had a paid threesome with the footballer and Big Brother 15 winner, Helen Wood. The event occurred while Rooney's wife had been pregnant with their eldest child. Later, in an interview with The Sun back in 2019, Thompson said that she regretted selling her story about her fling. Wood, who'd been part of the infamous threesome, also told the Daily Star that the athlete's wife should have left him after he was arrested back in 2017 for drunk driving in another woman's car. Paul George also makes an appearance on our list. If you were to look up Paul George cheated on Google, you would get more results than rings the player has earned in his career. Back in 2013, while still playing for the Indiana Pacers, the forward had been dating the daughter of the Los Angeles Clippers coach, Doc Rivers, Callie Rivers. He then later met an exotic dancer, Daniela Rajic, at a yacht party in Miami. Go forward a few months, and Rajic ended up being pregnant. Rumors instantly began flying that George had offered her over $1 million to have an abortion, an accusation that he vehemently denied. However, it turned out the baby was his, and the couple wound up falling in love and even got engaged. But wait, the plot thickens, as later in 2019, George got traded to play for the Clippers under Doc Rivers, the father of the woman he'd cheated on. That same year, Seth Curry, Steph Curry's brother, ended up marrying Callie Rivers in Malibu. He'd also been a former teammate of Austin Rivers, Doc's son, and Callie's brother. Who needs keeping up with the Kardashians when this family seemed to have such colorful lives? Someone needs to pitch the idea already. Coming up next is Oscar De La Hoya. Back in 2007, the boxer found himself in a predicament after an exotic dancer posted multiple photos of him wearing nothing but a pair of fishnet socks, panties, and heels. These images pretty much let everyone, including his wife, know that he'd been messing around. However, the Golden Boy refused to admit that it was him in the snaps. His spokesperson denied the authenticity of the photos and even allegedly speared the reputation of the woman who'd posted the snaps, Milana Dravnal, to try and discredit the photos. She then sued De La Hoya, which ended up being settled behind closed doors, though several sources told the New York Post that he'd reportedly offered a whopping $20 million to make her go away. The boxer eventually came clean 4 years later in an emotional interview with Univision, revealing that he'd cheated on his wife, Millie Courageous, whom he'd married back in 2001. The penultimate entry on our list is Kobe Bryant. Back in June 2003, the Los Angeles Lakers star was at the top of his game, but a night in a Colorado resort would soon change his path forever. Bryant allegedly had a sexual encounter with one of the employees at the resort, a 19-year-old woman, while his wife, Vanessa Bryant, and firstborn child hadn't been with him on the trip. The teenager had reportedly filed a police complaint the next day, and Bryant was subsequently charged with assault, a crime that could have sentenced him for life if convicted. However, the case against him was dropped just a year later after the alleged victim refused to testify in court, though she did file a civil case against him, which was settled behind closed doors. The stress of the trial weighed heavily on Bryant's family, especially his wife, who suffered a miscarriage due to the pressure, an unfortunate incident which Kobe shouldered the blame for. Finally, we have Dwayne Wade. The NBA shooter and actor Gabrielle Union found themselves in a very Ross and Rachel-like situation that played out like a storyline straight out of Friends. As the story goes, Wade and Union had been dating for quite some time when they decided to take a break. And during that break, Wade fathered a son with AJ Matoyer, a woman he'd known for many years. Later in her 2021 memoir, You Got Anything Stronger?, Union detailed the heartbreak she felt over Wade fathering another child while she'd been experiencing fertility issues. However, it seems that whatever issues the two had been going through have been apparently worked out, if their social media game is anything to go by, as the couple later shared a shirtless selfie on Instagram while wearing matching pants. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on Union and Howard's relationship? And do you know of any other pro athlete who's been unfaithful in their relationship? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.